Hi, astrology lovers. This is Lada from Astrolada.com, and today I'm here with Marina back for because of popular demand. Everyone wants to see Marina, so we decided to do an question and answers with Marina and me, and we chose a few of your questions. And you can also post questions while we're talking with Marina, and we're gonna choose a few questions that might be everyone can find interesting. And if they're too specific, if, for example, will I ever get married, or what does it mean to have Pluto trine Venus in Virgo, these are too specific. We want to answer questions today which everyone can learn from, which learning astrologers, amateur astrologers, or just people that are curious in astrology will learn from, and they can do astrology themselves. Hi, Marina. How are you?
Hi, Wada. Hello, everyone. I want to thank everybody who sent their questions. We appreciate their interest, and we hope that we'll be able to answer. Of course, not everyone, but as soon as we can, we'll answer more questions. So thank you for being with us.
And I wanted to present Marina again. She's a Western astrologer. She studied with the Russian school, with the Moscow School of Astrology, which is a very unique school. And she is also a tutor at the Master Astrologer at Mira Borisova, who is one of my teachers as well. So hopefully we'll be able to answer all your questions from the Western, and I would also include Vedic perspective as well. Okay, so Marina, have you chosen some questions? Which ones would you like to start with?
Yeah, well, I think we have very interesting questions, but let's start with something which many people have asked. It's related about something we can call family karma. So how can we see if there is some kind of karma between the different members of the family? One of the ways to do that is to look and find aspects between the same planets in the two horoscopes. Let's say the father and the child, or the mother and the child, having aspect between the same planets. And in this case, it's very interesting to see what the aspect is. Let's say the parent may have a difficult aspect, a square. So what would be the influence if the child has a positive aspect, and the opposite? What if the aspect stays the same or turns from a positive to negative? So these are different situations, and from that we can make conclusions about the karma of the family. So let's say that you have the same aspect. In one family, you have square between the moon and Uranus, for example, in the parent. And if the child has the same aspect in the horoscope, it means that probably the parent hasn't worked properly with the energy. He wasn't able to work that, to use it in a positive way, to learn to manage the difficulties of this aspect. And that's why the child also has the same aspect. And in some way, it will increase the effect of the aspect, and they will both have to fight and to learn to manage this aspect.
Yeah, I can imagine when you both have, it becomes like a resonance. If you have moon, Uranus, like you said, and the child also has it, the parent cannot escape it. Even if they were hiding their head till now, it just becomes so powerful that they have to deal with that. What happens if the mom has moon square Uranus and the child has moon trine Uranus?
Well, in that case, we can say that the parent has used the energy in a positive way.
So it's been able to transform within this lifetime already, to transform the energy, so the parent is possibly more conscious. Or could we say that also such a child might come to help a parent with this aspect, for the parent to actually ease that energy and to use it more?
Well, it becomes easier. It becomes easier for the parent if the child has a positive aspect between the same planets. Yes, of course. But also we have a very interesting situation when the parent has a positive aspect between two planets, and the child has difficult aspect between the same planets. Yeah, you can see that in many cases. It means that in some way the parent hasn't used the talent or the positive energy that this aspect has offered him. He has been lazy, or for different reasons it might happen. Yeah. And in this case, Yeah, it will be related with difficult aspects and some kind of difficulties that the child will have to overcome.
And the parent will have to help the child and will have to
Yeah.
consciousness. No one loves anything more than their children. So if you are not willing to do it for yourself, at least the universe will this way push you to do it for the most precious thing for you in your life.
Exactly.
Amazing. I actually never knew that,
Yeah.
because I very rarely do like children parent horoscopes. Very few people ask me, how can we find out more about that? Like you're doing a webinar on children and parents relationships. And
yeah, actually on the 24th of September, we are going to make a webinar about that. It's about astrological psychology for children, but we'll analyze many things related with the family topic. The communication between the parent and the child, how to understand the psychological type of your child, what are his needs, how you need to treat him, how to educate him, what is best for him, and what may bring some kind of difficulties.
And I've noticed something in many parents and children, that the child would have sun, moon, or ascendant as one of the signs of the parent, sun, moon, or ascendant. And often, if you don't know your ascendant, if you're a parent and you happen to have a child that has sun in Taurus, but you have neither moon or sun in Taurus, very likely your ascendant might be in Taurus or in Scorpio, the opposite sign. I've really noticed that very clearly. For example, my mom didn't know her time of birth, and she was Leo sun, and moon in Gemini, and I happen to be Aries. So and I thought maybe your ascendant is Aries, and when we went and checked her time of birth from the hospital, perfect, Aries ascendant. So it's kind of
yeah, absolutely. I have seen that, and we use it also in the rectification when we find the correct birth of the person. That's one of the ways to find out, let's say, if you hesitate between two signs, let's say if it's on the first degree of Aries or in the last degree of Pisces, for example. One of the ways is to ask the person what are the sun signs of his parents, and very often they are the same, they are repeating. Yes.
Oh wow, the sun sign or the ascendant or the moon, one of those will kind of repeat. But so basically you're going to talk about that in your webinar for children's psychological astrology, which is on the 24th of September. Guys, you can join. I'll send you a link for everyone who wants to be part of that webinar. And once you take it, I believe you can do family astrology and children astrology professionally, even when you try it in the future.
It's astrological psychology, so that's why I think that it's very interesting, because it's not only simple astrology, it's related with the psychological type of the person, and in some way it can be important not only for children but also for many people. Yes,
even for grown-ups. To see
of course.
how the dynamics of their family affected them, and even to compare their horoscopes to their parents and to see, wow, obviously I'm helping my parents with that, or wow, my mom's such a bitch, now I have to suffer because of her. I'm kidding, sorry. My sense of humor is awful.
No, you're right, yeah.
Oh wow, that's great to hear. That would be very interesting. I can't wait to take that course myself. Okay, let's check. Let's go for the next question.
Yeah, well, I would like to start with one question which were sent to us on the email after the last webinar. So it's about addictions. It was actually about alcohol, but we can talk about all kinds of addictions, and how to see that in the horoscope and what can help for the person. Well, of course, all kinds of addictions, they are related with Neptune. Maybe a lot of people know that. Neptune, and why is that? Because people with strong influence of Neptune, they are too sensitive, they are too emotional, and it's very difficult for them to handle with the material world. And using some kind of, it can be alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, everything, this is a way for them to escape from the reality. Another reason for that is people with strong Neptune, they want to take off all the boundaries, to feel connected, to feel on a different level.
To feel like they're back to God and merged with the fact, with home that they don't remember. They have a vague memory that things should feel much greater and better. Like, look at Michael Jackson and Prince, amazing, talented, very sensitive people, and Whitney Houston even, people to have such sense of music. Obviously, many addicted people are very creative as well, because when you have such sensitized, high feeling to the high connection to the feelings of others, you can create amazing art. But one of the side effects,
yeah, of course, and that's again related the same energy. That's again Neptune, the creativity, and that's the positive side of Neptune. And the interesting thing here is that the positive aspects of Neptune are actually more dangerous, we can say. Yeah,
I have 4 trines within 2 degrees to my Neptune from all my personal planets, and 2 sextiles within 1 or 2 degrees. I've been struggling all my life with all kinds of addictions, and because it doesn't harm you so much, you kind of are much lazier about letting go of it, and it's kind of it's the easiest escape. My child will be born with Neptune oppositions and squares, and oh no.
It would be better, actually. It would be better, yeah. So really, it's surprising, but that's how it works. The positive aspects and the conjunctions of Neptune with the personal planets, they are more related with some kind of addictions, and actually it's more difficult for the person to overcome that. If you have squares between Neptune and your personal planets, you can still be addicted at some part of your life, but it makes you feel, you know, it affects you in a bad way physically, and that can help you to stop that.
Because you have bad effects, and your life can start going down, and it's much, you know, at a certain moment you just kind of said enough, that's it.
Yeah, and another indication for that is if you have no earth element. It also increases the fact, and if you have such combination, strong Neptune and no earth planets in your horoscope, then it becomes even more difficult for the person to overcome all these things.
No earth, and Neptune made aspects to all my planets.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not describing you, but yeah, this is your case. But actually, that's how it works. Yeah, because if you have earth element, you're more grounded, and that can help you to stop this thing. If you're not grounded, you're, you know, more influenced. You want to get away from here, literally. These people, some of them may harm themselves. It can become really difficult. But also another thing which can help in this situation is actually Saturn. You can see that the aspects of Saturn, especially the difficult aspects, are bad, and they harm you and they bring difficulties, but in these cases they can be really helpful. So if the person has some kind of oppositions or squares from Saturn, it will be very good for him. Or also if even if he
squares or difficult aspects from Saturn, this will be good for the person.
Yeah, in these cases, yeah, it will make you more grounded, more you know, more stable. Even it will be related with some kind of difficulties in different areas,
because Saturn is about corrections and you seeing the results of actions very fast. In Vedic astrology, the addiction planet is actually Rahu, which is the north node, and Ketu, which is the south node, because they say that these 2 planets, they're actually not planets, they're points of they're kind of very, especially when the addiction is kind of karmic, powerfully karmic, connected to the past somehow. And because they create the eclipses, and the eclipse removes the light and the connection to higher power, and you're kind of grappling to reconnect again to it. So I've noticed through Vedic astrology, when Ketu or Rahu are conjunct with the sun, with the moon, with the ascendant, this can bring more inclinations. Because of the eclipse, it causes the disconnection from the source of light and happiness innerly. This can be, in Vedic astrology, this is the most important indication for addictions. And they also say that Scorpio is a sign of addiction. It's possibly more like obsessive, compulsive behaviors. You're
absolutely right. Yeah, that was
Scorpio rules poisons.
The combination between strong Neptune and Pluto is really dangerous. Neptune, we described the influence, and Pluto makes everything extreme. You're able to do it, you know, until you die even. And it's a very during the last century, almost everyone who has been born has sextile between Pluto and Neptune in their horoscope. Even if it is a harmonious aspect, it creates some kind of connection between these planets. And if they're situated in an important places of the horoscope, let's say in the cardinal houses, it increases the effect of the planets, and it can become really dangerous for the person.
Pluto intensifies the desire of Neptune to escape.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about planets in the 12th house and 8th house? And in Vedic astrology, they say that planets in the 6th house can bring like food addictions and any kind of material addictions, because it's the place of lack of balance. The 8th house can make you, these are the so-called malefic houses. The 12th house can make you want to escape again, like Neptune energy. And the 8th house can make you obsessive compulsive a bit, intensify, but it's not necessary.
Yeah, well, I have noticed that people with many planets in 12th house, they have some kind of difficulties in their life, especially if the element is, let's say, fire or earth, which is, you need to achieve some kind of results, but 12th house doesn't allow you to do that. And in these cases, we recommend some relocation, because 12th house is also related with emigration. So for these people, I think that it would be better for them to live somewhere abroad, on a distant places. Even in isolation would be better for them, or on the place they were born. Sorry, just to finish about the addictions, I wanted to say something. What can help for people with addictions in astrologically? Well, you need to find the time when Saturn makes aspect with the personal planets, with the moon or with the sun especially. And even if it's square or opposition, we say it's even better in these cases. At that time, the person can find the strength. He can become more grounded. He can become more responsible. Yeah. So at these periods, you can use them to stop from some kind of addictions. It can be related even with small addictions. It doesn't need to be drugs and something really dangerous, but even your small addictions, like eating something unhealthy or smoking cigarettes, which is not so dangerous, even that you can stop while Saturn is making an aspect with your personal planets or with your ascendant.
Yeah, I remember I stopped smoking and drinking when Saturn was transiting my Saturn, which rules my ascendant, transiting my Jupiter and opposing my Mercury. So kind of was activating very important planets at once.
Yeah, and
yeah, it was
it would be also, it would be a very good way to manage with the difficulties that this aspect may bring in your life. If you restrict yourself consciously and by personal will, then Saturn will not restrict you in other areas that might be more painful for you.
From outside. So your advice for Saturn transits, anything, is restrict yourself purposefully, consciously. Otherwise, the universe will restrict you somehow.
Exactly. You need to be more responsible, more grounded, more patient to accept some things, with like something that you have to go through, and not to fight with everything. Actually, we had a very interesting question. I can't say the exact words, but it was something like, do we have to fight with some aspects with the transits, I mean? Or we should follow the influence. I would say that we should follow the influence of the aspect, not to try to fight against it, because it might become really difficult for us. So let's say if you have an aspect from Uranus, you should make some kind of changes. It doesn't matter with with which of your planets, but you need to make changes. If you try to keep the
status quo,
then it will destroy many things in
I'm
your life.
I'm going to give an example. I had the strongest Uranus transit this spring. It passed over my Mars and over my Sun, very close to my Venus. And I was thinking, I'll make some changes. Oh my God. When it came, I went into a mental breakdown, and I said, I cannot live in the UK anymore. And I've always loved the UK, and I just couldn't breathe. And for 1 month, I was crying every day. I couldn't breathe. I was having panic attacks. I was collapsing mentally. And I said, it's not me. It's not my choice. I have to do it, otherwise I'm going to get sick. It's so powerful. The moment I made the shift, bam, perfect. I feel so great, so energized. It's amazing. But yeah, it seems like that working with the planets rather than against. And when it's Saturn, we have to restrict our self-consciousness. We have to accept something, even if it doesn't feel so pleasant. We have to detach somehow our mentality from something as well.
Yes,
oh, wow.
Yes.
And is there anything holistic we can do for addictions?
Well, yeah, you can help yourself with some kind of practices that helps you to be more grounded. You know, the first chakra, it's related with our link with the ground, with the material world. You have to become more connected with the ground, literally. You know what? Also, people with some kind of addictions, when they send them to some kind of rehabs and clinics, and not exactly clinics, but places where they try to overcome these problems, they give them a lot of physical work. And the reason for that, yeah, literally physical, heavy work, which exhausts you, and you only work, eat, and sleep. And that helps because you become more grounded.
Maybe
another
also
thing,
walking barefoot and going and being in nature can help in some way, it seems.
yeah, many things, some kind of gemstones, practices.
That's why working out helps with addictions, I would say. Any kind of addiction.
Absolutely. Also, working out, some kind of sports, they increase the strength of your Mars. It increases your will, your power. Yeah. So you can also look at the position of your Mars, where it's situated in your horoscope, and you can try to, you know, focus and put more energy in this house. Let's say if it's in fifth house, you can it can be related with some kind of art activities, creativity. It will help you to increase your power.
But there is a saying, and many psychologists are starting to say that you cannot stop addiction with willpower. And even if you manage to do it for maybe a year or two, it's like being a dry drunk, or it's like constantly, because if you constantly have to show power, it's inhuman. And they say that sometimes if you have karma for that, until it runs out, you can't do much, I guess. But maybe changes.
Yeah, it's not easy, definitely, and it's something that you have to manage through all of your life. But you know, something else I have noticed, that what can help people, it's related with their belief. And some kind of, you can say it also religion, it doesn't matter what kind of religion is, what is your God, how you name it. But I have noticed that people who find their belief, their trust in God, they, because it's also related with Neptune, you know.
Yeah.
Religion
so
and belief.
in a positive direction of Neptune, doing something artistic, or doing something spiritual, like helping others in some way.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the way to overcome. You know, you start to use the energy of the planet on a different level, and every planet can be used on a different level. And especially the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they have some very dark sides and some really positive. And with our personal will, we can make some efforts to change the situation.
But you're also a nutritionist astrologer. You do nutritionist horoscopes. Isn't there something to do with the food we eat that might be complicating our addiction, because we're deprived of nutrients? So if we're not eating according to our nature and inflame certain feelings too much, or increase, like, give me an example, because you have this amazing nutritional horoscope that you do, and you say to people what foods are best for them according to their horoscope, so they can feel most grounded, most whole.
Yeah, well, in this case, in this horoscope, I combine astrology and also Ayurveda. So in your, I use the horoscope, and I define what is the balance of they are called doshas. It's some kind of different levels, which we all have, but in many cases, they are not balanced in us. And it causes some kind of emotional imbalance when these doshas are not balanced. And by eating the proper foods, the right foods for you, you can balance your emotions, your you know, psychology, and it can become more easy for you to stop the other things which are unhealthy for you and which are, you know, hurting you even physically.
Yes, because you give your body exactly what it needs, so it stops craving things that are unnatural, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And also through this, we can help for people who suffer from different kinds of emotional issues.
Like depression?
Yeah, there are three main groups. One of it is depression, sadness, these dark emotions. The other thing is related more like anger, these who can't control themselves, who explode, the fire type of people. And the third type of people, they are very nervous. They are very, always like shaking. This is related, it's some kind of anxiety these people are suffering from. Yeah, and
Wow.
the states are related with the balance of your doshas, and we
Can you
can
have
find
both?
that,
Can you have like the anger and the nervousness? Can you have two doshas out of balance?
yeah, of course, and also with eating the wrong foods, you can increase the imbalance. You can unbalance yourself, even more.
Oh, wow. So what if someone is very nervous nature? Can you give us example with a few foods they should avoid?
Well, it's related with the tastes you need to choose.
Uh-huh.
For example, these people, if they eat, let's say, more spicy foods, it will help them to increase their pitta dosha, which can, decrease the levels of vata, which is related with this anxiety and nervousness.
Nervousness.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So there is very subtle way to manipulate the energies and to kind of, wow. And I believe that you're what we eat, the food. Like you can see children that are on crab diet from little, they have anger issues and inability to focus. It can affect you from very young, the food. And I believe that everyone should have themselves their constitution evaluated astrologically or by an Ayurvedic practitioner to see what food, what energy is most easily disbalanced in them, so they can correct that through foods and through certain. You also give advice for certain activities to do to balance out the doshas, the constitution.
Yeah, every dosha has a specific sports which are good for it and which can balance the energy. Some of them need more calm activities, to be, let's say, the pitta dosha. They don't, they need to practice some kind of activity that doesn't include a competitive element, because, they are always in a hurry. They always want to be the first, to be the best. Yeah. And if they practice some kind of sport that includes this element, it will only increase the
Let
imbalance.
me give you an example. You made my nutritional horoscope and you said I have too much pitta, anger. And I remember my boyfriend used to tell me, let's go work out. You're just sitting at home. Let's go. And we decided to do squash. And because it's competitive, I remember I'd get so frustrated that I broke the squash racket because he was beating me up. And I didn't want to talk to him for 2 days after that. And he said, you become a monster? I said, I want to go swim. Leave me alone. Like, this is so frustrating. Yeah. When I start losing, I get angry. I'm not happy after the sport. I'm frustrated. So this really works. Yeah. And is it based those pitta, dosha, vata only on the elements? It's something else that you look at. It's not so easy as just checking the elements in the horoscope, is it?
No. I use some kind of, it's a specific software which calculates these things. You can't just see at the horoscope and tell, well, this is your balance. Yeah. It includes also your ascendant. It includes the position of the planet. So it's very specific and individual.
Yeah. And you were looking at the moon's Dvada Samsha, which is the 12 divisional horoscope or something like that?
Also.
This is Vedic astrology. They use divisional. This is part like throwback to the ancient techniques. Sorry.
Yeah, we use also the sign of the moon and this Dvada Sams of the moon, and it shows us which foods are healthy for the person, and he is more, able to accept them as something natural for him, and what can cause him some kind of problems. Also, in this horoscope, we analyze the influence of the different planets according to the aspects of the moon, which also can show some kind of difficulties. Let's say if, for example, Neptune is making a negative aspect with your moon, you may have some kind of...
Why is the moon? Because the moon is our emotions, what nourishes us.
It's physically, in the medical astrology, it's related with our stomach, literally, and with our digestion. Yeah. So that's why it indicates possible problems we may have. And for example, if you have Neptune in a negative aspect with your moon, you have to be careful. You may have some kind of imbalance with the microflora. There might be some kind of infections you can have.
Bacteria.
So
I have a friend who has moon opposition Neptune, and they can't find some bacteria for 7 years. They're looking to find it because she has all those pains in the stomach, and she can eat very few foods. And they say it's a mystery. It's something we can't find it. We know it's a bacteria, but we don't know what it is.
That's the problem with Neptune. Very often it can bring some kind of difficulties, and they are very difficult to be, to define what exactly it is.
Diagnose.
Yeah.
What would Saturn bring, for example, in a hard aspect with the moon?
Saturn, it can decrease, it can slow on your metabolism. For example, you may put on more weight. It depends. Saturn can have different influences in other cases, but it can bring difficulties like you don't want to eat, or you can't eat a lot. People who has aspect between the moon and Saturn, they should eat less quantity of food, but more often.
To kickstart the metabolism. My mom has this aspect, and she really eats small tiny portions, and she still says I can't lose weight. It's ridiculous, but like I can't.
Very often.
What about Uranus moon?
Well, it can bring some kind of nervous stomach, we call it here. I'm not sure if
nervous stomach.
You react very your stomach, your digestion react on something that makes you feel nervous, on some things that makes you feel worried. You're very your stomach becomes really sensitive. Also, these people, they tend to have really not a strict regime. They can eat one day at 12 o'clock, then they may not eat for 8 hours, then they skip meals, then they overeat, and for them it's very unhealthy.
Oh my God, really? That's what I do every day, and I have this aspect. That's why I asked about it. I remember you mentioned it in my report, and I was like, how does she know I don't eat on time? But actually, what if you feel nervous? You shouldn't eat if you have this aspect. You're better off not to eat, because it's not good to eat on a nervous stomach. And that's why I can't eat for possibly 12 hours, because when I work, I'm overly excited, overly nervous. Like when I work, like I can't eat. I don't know what to do.
Well, you should take a rest. Well, in your case, Uranus is in 10th house, and that's why your work and the tension and the pressure and always scurrying for something, it affects your nutrition and your regime. And in these cases, you should just stop. You should isolate yourself. Take your time, because otherwise it's affecting your nervous system. Uranus is related with our nervous system, and it's not a good situation.
Oh wow, it's amazing gems of information here we're getting. So that we get all this in your nutritional horoscope. You should make a webinar on nutrition, because I find it fascinating. And I think that it's very interesting that you mentioned that the moon's Dvadasamsha sign says what foods feel most natural to us, because in Vedic astrology, the 12th divisional house shows the karma of our family, our ancestors. So very likely foods that our ancestors, that in the genetic inheritance from our ancestors would feel most natural for us, which I find interesting. I made a connection when you were speaking about the moon's Dvadasamsha, so I'm thinking possibly it has something to do with that. But anyway, let's move. That's such an interesting topic. I can talk for hours. Just quickly, if you have difficult aspect between the moon and Venus, how can it affect?
Difficult aspect. Well, in these cases, you should avoid all kind of sweet foods, because you can, eating chocolate, it's not good for you. Sorry about that. Also, Venus can slow on the metabolism of the person, because Venus is a passive planet, sometimes related with laziness, slowly motion, and it's not. It can decrease the level of your metabolism, and eating sweet foods is not good.
I think that's exactly the foods those people love. Like the 3 closest people in my life have a Venus moon oppositional square, and they're addicted to chocolates or sweets. And, like they'll go and hide even and eat their chocolates and gummy bears and stuff. And Wow, it's, well, obviously, that's what they're not supposed to eat. Why
Yeah,
can't we eat
unfortunately.
things exactly that we're not supposed to do? I can eat as much sweets as I want, and I don't give a tiny rat's ass about sweets, to be honest. But
Yeah, because your moon has a positive aspect. It has trine with Venus, and
yeah,
that's
I
why
can
you
have a
can eat.
spoonful of chocolate, and I'm like,
Yeah.
beautiful, thank you, but wow, but having a routine in eating, that's no chance. Like, one day I'll eat, one day I won't eat. One day, one day I'll overeat. The next, then I'm not gonna eat for 16 hours, then I'll overeat, which is okay. I'll try to do it more regularly.
Um, it's not good really, because Uranus, it can be related even with some kind of food disorders, literally. So yeah,
I
it's
used to
not
have,
good.
as a child, food disorders. I used to
Yeah.
eat just fruits and vegetables all week, and then at the end of the week, I would just go and stuff myself like crazy till I start throwing up. You see, I'm a bit fucked up.
Mm.
But you have Mars with the moon. How does it affect Mars with the moon? It makes you.
Yeah, it increases the metabolism very much.
That's why you're so skinny.
Yeah, because there are other indications. My ascendant is in Cancer. My moon is also in conjunction with Jupiter. So you may say that I should be more, how to say,
Bigger.
more big. Yeah. But Mars, because it's in very close conjunction, it's less than 1 degree, and it increases, it burns. Mars is a fire planet. Even if it's not in a fire sign, it increased. Also, I have a square with Uranus, so I also have some kind of disorders. And that's what actually pushed me to search for some kind of solutions, because I have faced with some kind of problems in this area, and I was searching for something to help me. Yeah.
What problems
And
did you have, if you don't mind me asking? I'm just
yeah,
a peeping Tom.
well, I had problems. I was very close to anorexia. Not literally, but very close. I couldn't eat. I didn't want to eat. I couldn't swallow the food because it's like stuck here. Yeah, it's very unpleasant.
And especially with the
Awful.
nervous Uranus also squaring your moon.
And that's why I said it's related with the disorders, especially if you have connection between one of these planets and sixth house, because sixth house is also related with our nutrition regime, diet.
My moon
Yeah,
was the 6th house, so that's why food
yeah, and
disorder
my
for five
Uranus is
years.
in
Yeah.
my Uranus is in sixth house, so you can have, and I have seen people with this situation. Yeah, and what helped me, I found something very interesting about people who are more sensitive, more, vulnerable, like emotionally influenced by others, that they should avoid eating meat. And I started thinking about that. So what's the reason for that? Because when you eat the meat of the killed animal, you accept all the fear that it has felt while it was dying.
So you
Yeah.
become more jumpy, more nervous, even more angry.
And for people like me, because I have a strong Neptune and my moon, I have a stellium in Pisces, and especially the moon is important here. Those people, they're like sponges. You accept everything energetically from others, and also from the food you accept in your body.
Yeah.
And that's why I decided to stop eating meat. And I haven't eaten meat for more than 3 years, and I have no problems with that.
Oh my God, amazing. I became a vegetarian naturally. I just also didn't feel like every time I would eat meat, sometimes I would go and have like a piece of chicken and something, and I wouldn't feel so well after that. I would feel more like jittery, nervous somehow. I couldn't relax enough. It immediately affects. Maybe it's in my head, but no, because it's kind of maybe, yeah, and I guess meat basically calms down the vibration of a more sensitive moon, of a more reactionary moon.
People, vegetarians, they are mostly people who has a strong Virgo. They are the vegetarians. Only the sun in Virgo is not enough, but if you have a stellium in Virgo, if your moon is in Virgo, it's good to be a vegetarian. It's healthy for you. And the other option is if you have the moon in Pisces in the opposite sign, but if it has some kind of difficult aspects. When when the moon has difficult aspects in certain sign, you can eat the foods related with the opposite sign, you know, to bring the balance. So if your moon is in Pisces, it has difficult aspects, but difficult aspects from the, you know, the difficult planets, the negative planets.
Pluto,
Let's say,
yeah,
the malefics, as we call them. If it's a difficult aspect from Jupiter, it's not such a problem, or Mercury, you know. But if the malefics make difficult aspect with your moon in Pisces, it's better for you to become a vegetarian.
Well, what if your moon is in Virgo and you have difficult aspects from the malefics? Is it better to eat fish? Pisces?
Yeah, in some cases, eating seafoods can be good for you. Not all kind of meat.
What if it's in Aries? Your moon is bad.
Aries, they can eat meat because this sign is ruled by Mars, and Mars is the hunting, you know, even the killing process. So these people, they can eat meat. Or if their Mars makes aspect with the moon positive, they can. Of course, it's only one aspect, and we should look at the whole chart to tell, you know, to see the whole situation.
So it's not bad for everyone. So it's not necessary for everyone to be a vegetarian. Some people can really well deal with meat. But if you have more nervous, more sensitive disposition, even if you don't know your horoscope, if you're just more jumpy, more reactive, more stress easily, get sadder, avoid meat, basically. Even without knowing astrology, it's kind of...
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Cool. Wow. I love listening to you. Let's go to the next question.
Well, we have a more special topic. I was wondering if it's appropriate to talk about it, but maybe it would be useful for someone. It's related to about death. We were asked what are the indications for death, for you know, dying. So first of all, I want to give an advice for people that it's not good for you to look at the horoscope of someone who has recently died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not good for you, and also for the soul of the person who has died, because you make some kind of connection with him, and you're keeping him, you know, he can affect you badly, and you can also stop him from following his path or whatever is happening there. So you should wait. They say that you should wait around a year, especially if the death is caused by accident, suddenly, violently, or suicide, or some kind of death. You should definitely wait 1 year. If the death is more natural, they say 40 days, but honestly, I would recommend 1 year.
Oh yeah, but that's what all we do. The moment a star dies, we go to their horoscope and look for what killed them.
Yeah, honestly, I don't make predictions for that, because I think that it's not
only God knows
helping. Yeah, it's not helping anybody. But the interesting part here. So, what are the main houses which can be activated if the death is sudden, by accident, unexpected? It's related with the 8th house. You can find some kind of you know, difficult direction or progression related with your 8th house.
But you already have to have indications that you can die suddenly. Like Marilyn Monroe and Kennedy, Marilyn Monroe had Mars, I think. Kennedy had Uranus and Mars, like kind of a more stressful, angry, sudden planets there. And accident prone. It's not necessary that you'll die suddenly as well, but I know people with Mars in the 8th house that just have more accidents overall. But you're definitely more at risk, especially if there is some direction there. But we're not predicting that. But sudden death, unexpected, and maybe these are the best deaths, to be honest, to exit so quickly, you know.
Well, it depends, you know. Seriously, if we have to talk, it's not so. That's what I have read, of course. It's not my conclusions, but they say that it's very stressing for the soul, and that's why it comes on difficult aspects when it's related with 8th house. Yeah, and you're not prepared. It's shocking. Everything.
You haven't arranged your inheritance or anything. What if you have Saturn in the 8th house? Saturn will not want to die. It will hang on for dear life.
Those people, they are very afraid of that. they are thinking about it. Yeah, and yeah, they
I
are
get the
afraid.
pain and I'm like, I'm dying. I'm dying. I have cancer. Here it is. I know I'm
Yeah.
gonna die slowly over 4 months and maybe 4 years. Oh no. But they hold
Yeah,
on to life. Like they don't want to let go.
yeah,
They
but
don't want to do this change and transition.
yeah, but usually Saturn, it makes the person, it helps him to live a longer
Longer.
life.
Yeah,
So
that's a
yeah,
combination. Saturn in the 8th combination for longevity, actually.
yeah, yeah.
With one kidney, with one leg that you're holding on there.
Well, yeah, it's possible. Yeah. Well, the interesting part here is that the death can also come related with ninth house.
Okay.
The reason for that is that ninth house, it's, you know, the long journey that your soul takes to somewhere, to the place where it belongs. And very interestingly, that the death can come on positive aspects.
Yeah, it's
Let's
like
say,
release, like going back home.
yeah, yeah. So that's why, you know, I'm optimistic. I think that probably it's much better there, because something that happens on positive aspects,
Such a great aspect.
something related with ninth house, it's very positive always. So
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's why.
It's and the ninth house is the house of pilgrimages and communication with God. So you go back to your father and to God.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
oh yeah, it's a pilgrimage is when you go on a trip to see something sacred, and I guess that's what the ninth house or the death. These will be the ninth deaths. When you're ready, you're going to see you're returning back. You're released from
yeah,
pain.
yeah. And that's why it happens on positive aspects.
Mhm. And
Um,
those that are through eighth house, it's kind of sudden, it's unexpected, it's a bit of a shock of the soul, but it doesn't mean the soul is going to hell. It's going to
no, of
take a
course.
bit more the transition, because it's going to be still attached to the loved ones, and might be, more shock for the others. They can cry more and, kind of hold the soul back, but still.
Yes.
And you were telling that the fourth house is connected with the last part of one's life.
Yeah, because the fourth house, it's the end of things. Even in the Hurar astrology, fourth house shows how things will end up. And it's also related with the last part of our lives. So it's also our roots, you know, the place where we really belong. Here on earth, we belong to our family, our birthplace, our home house. But our soul belongs somewhere else. And when your fourth house is
Your true
activated,
family. So
yeah,
and basically there is often a repetition how the early part of your life in your family is. When you come the full circle towards the end of your life, it kind of repeats on a different level, but similar kind of way.
yeah.
And
So
if you have like Venus there, what do you mean? You have like a good last ends of your life?
yeah, absolutely. Those people, somebody will take care for them. They will live in harmony. They will be surrounded by people who love them. It's very good to have Venus in your fourth house. Yeah.
And people who have, say, Pluto.
Yeah. Well, it's more difficult. Yeah, it might be related with some kind of critical situations, but only from one indication we can't make such. We need such conclusions. We need to see the whole horoscope, and then we can say how things really are. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Wow. I think it's the first time someone has talked about that online, but it's a very interesting topic.
I felt that we need to speak about it. I don't know why. Maybe someone needs to hear that right now.
Yeah.
It's a very, specific topic, but I don't think that we should be afraid from that.
No. And actually, the fourth house, I've seen it with people, when I look at their charts. And I've seen, for example, Saturn conjunct the fourth house husband in the last, say, 10, 15 years of their life. They kind of isolated. They went into nature. They were like, they disconnected from, it's kind of, they withdrew more. This is what Saturn can give. Venus can give you dying in luxury and surrounded by loved ones. Jupiter can make you very spiritual towards the end of your life. And Pluto can make you, I know, Neptune can You get drunk. I don't know. Like start.
Oh, well, yeah, why not? Also, you know, I want to give an advice to people not to search for these things,
No.
not to focus too much on these things, because I don't think that it can be really helpful. That's why I'm not focusing very much on these issues. I'm not searching for that.
Yeah.
It's something natural. We are all gonna experience that for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we are alive now. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
And I read a lot of life after death experiences because with my Saturn in the eighth, I obsessed about that. And they all say they never wanted to come back. And they all say that this was the best, most beautiful day of their life. And they said some of them, after coming back from a life after death experience, they try to die. They just don't want to live anymore because they say it's so much better there. And some of them just come back with a renewed sense of meaning and gratefulness for this opportunity. But all of them say over there it's 10 times more real than here. It feels as if you are sleeping while you're alive here. It feels as if you just woke up and it's kind of like a dizzy dream, and your consciousness becomes 10 times more aware and more clear. That's why I understand that the ninth house would be, you know, death, which is the higher consciousness. You really come into consciousness and clarity then. And this feels like a dream, this life.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next question. Very interesting topics. I'm excited. What else have you chosen now?
Yeah, well, we have a question about the Yod configuration and the Queen Kong's aspects, and these topics are related. And really, there is very few information about that.
The finger of God.
Yeah, it's also called the finger of God. So it consists of one sextile between two planets and a third planet, which makes an aspect from 150 degrees to quincunxes, with the both planets. Well, the quincunx, it's a very special aspect. It's a minor aspect. It's not like the square or the trine. And the interesting part here is that it connects signs which have nothing mutual. You know, they are totally different. When we have trine aspect, we have signs which are in the same element, let's say fire, earth, you know, the four elements in the trine aspect. When we have a square aspect, even if it's related with difficulties, the aspect is connecting the same modality, the signs in the same modality. So in some way they share some kind of common qualities, and that's why it's easier to work with this energy. But the quincunx, it connects signs which has nothing common, no element, no modality, no polarity. They are always negative and positive.
So it's like Gemini and Scorpio, for example, or Sagittarius and Taurus, or Sagittarius and the other one would be Cancer, isn't it?
Yeah, yes. And that's why these energies are very strange. Also, you know how we can analyze this aspect is if you look at what sector, what house in the Mundo chart it aspect fits. So let's say our starting point is Aries. The quincunx, it connects 6th house Virgo and 8th house Scorpio. Is it clear? Okay. I'm not sure.
You mean this where the two planets at the end of the sextiles are that create the sextile?
No, I'm talking about the quincunx aspect.
Okay.
Yeah, the quincunx, it connects our starting point. It's Aries, so it connects
the overall influence of the. Okay. This is how you're giving an example. So it's connection of the first 6 and 8 houses.
First 6 and first 8 make quincunx aspect. You can use this approach to analyze every aspect. Yeah. And that's why
want to analyze the aspects through that. Can you do it? Can you start first with the trines, for example, like a grand trine, to give us an example?
Well, here the point is if they call it right and left aspect or first and second, it's easier. Let's say you have the moon in Aries, and you have the Sun in Leo.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
In
Okay.
Leo.
The
If we
triangle.
are talking about the trine, or you
Okay.
want to continue about the quincunx maybe first, it would be better probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue
So
about the
yeah,
quincunx.
let's talk about the quincunx and
About
of course,
after
yeah.
that, because this is very interesting to feel that how an aspect works to get its energy, to understand it more in depth.
It's a very large topic, and we can make a special webinar when we can analyze every of the aspects and what's the difference between left and right, because you know it's very large topic, a lot of information.
Okay, we'll do the next webinar on the aspects.
Yes, it's very interesting, and it can show you what are the differences if your let's say square is left or right, or first, second, you can call it, because there are some differences in the influence of the aspect. So the quincunx, it connects, it's related between first and sixth, or first and eighth house. And that's why it can have a different influence also, because if it's related with the eighth house, it can bring some kind of crisis. You know, the meaning of eighth house, it's some kind of transformations, unexpected things, things that transform you, change you totally. So that's why one of the quincunxes, that's the second one. Let's say if you have a planet in Aries and the other one is in Scorpio, that's the second quincunx. It can bring some kind of it's related with the influence of eighth house. So changing things, transforming, something needs to die because another things can be born and can appear in your life. Also, another thing interesting about the quincunx is that it's we said 150 degrees. So it consists of 90 degrees and 60 degrees. So it includes the square aspect and the sextile.
How does it exclude the square aspect?
You know, just mathematically, we can divide it on this. And the meaning of that, you know, 90 plus 60, it makes 150. You see? The square and the the square and the sextile. And that's why they say that
join them. When you join to get to the square, to the quincunx, you add a square and sextile.
So that's related also with the influence of the aspect. The first influence is always like a square. So it's related with overcoming some difficulties, some restrictions, some things you have to fight with because it's a square. And after you do that, you can use the positive side of the aspect, which is like a sextile, you know, which brings things more easily. You can have some kind of success depending on which side of
but if it's
the aspect is.
To the 6th-8th house influence, the quincunx, isn't it going to be one of the most difficult configurations?
It can be really, because you know something also important for that is that these long aspects, you know, 150 degree, it takes through whole it's in the whole horoscope, it crosses it. So it's the longer and the longer aspect you have, the longer situations it brings in your life. That's why oppositions and quincunxes, they create long-lasting situations and repeating problems for the quincunx. Problems.
But the quincunx is even longer than the opposition because it takes longer to get from one to the other.
Well, you can take it only as a degrees, so 150.
108. No, the opposition is the longest, 180. So the oppositions will bring the most repeating lessons over and over and over, while the quincunx
long-lasting situations.
Long-lasting.
And when you have a Yod configuration, the most important planet, it's called it's the apex. So the planet that makes the two quincunxes. This is the main focus of the energy, and in some way you should learn to work with this planet.
But there is a helping influence because of the sextile at the bottom. So these two quincunxes, 150 degrees, which that they have some kind of crisis, but also a possibility for solving the issue. So you have to focus. They call it the finger of God, the Yod. So wherever it's pointing, this is a fated area you have to work in to constantly adapt and adjust. Though there is something.
Exactly.
Can you give us an example? Say someone has the yacht, the top of the yacht in the third house. It's pointing towards the third house, and
I would say that.
Yeah.
In this case, I think that the most important is the planet which is there. Not yeah. So let's say if your planet there is the moon, all these changes and transformations, they will be related with everything which includes the moon, your family, emotionality, children, everything related with the planet. I think that this is the most important.
So a person will have the need to constantly adapt and adjust in those cases in this yacht to work the long distance.
But the point is that after the difficulties, you can receive the positives of this. That's the difference from the squares, you know. That after overcoming the difficulties, you can receive the positive side.
So kind of work hard, and then after that you can be a reward. God gives you a test, you do it, and then your destiny goes through that planet, and you can achieve your destiny.
Yeah, and it's also very rare configuration, because the orbits of these aspects, it's only 1 degree, so it's not something that you can see in many charts. And if it's something rare, it means that if you have it in your chart, then in some way you are destined to, you know, you're more special with some kind of task that you have. It's not like a simple square.
For that planet task, for example, But
yeah.
Guys, I'm telling you already now, we're going to do a special webinar with Marina on all the aspects, on all the configurations, the kites, the grand squares, T-squares, grand trines, yachts, the Star of David. So we're going to talk about that, which even without knowing your time of birth, or even without knowing any astrology, just knowing what the shape is, it can tell you so much about you and how your life will proceed. And if you're interested in that, we'll probably do a webinar that's just like $20 or something. That's very cheap, so everyone can join us, and we can talk about that, because Marina is so good at Western astrology. I'm more like into ancient Vedic as well, but it's a fascinating topic, and it really works. Whenever I worked with Western astrology, those aspects are amazing. Maybe we should do it in the start of October, or something like that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
After Mercury retrograde, we can do everything.
Yeah, after Mercury. I'm doing a webinar on the 1st of September, but it's a webinar on retrograde planets. So I hope it's okay
for you.
Hopefully the retrograde Mercury will be helping me, or maybe I'll be talking total rubbish. But no, I think we'll tap into more spiritual rather than logical energy, which we need for the Mercury retrograde and retrograde planets. Anyway, let's go to the next question.
Yeah, so one interesting question is transits that can be related with career success. That's, of course, the first thing we should say is Jupiter, the planet of growth, development, expansion. Of course, it can always help you to expand, you know, to develop in your career.
Jupiter, the Sun, over the 10th house cast, over
10th, 6th house, or the ruler of these houses also. All kind of aspects, you know, with Jupiter, even the squares can be very beneficial. They can be related with some kind of, you know, more attention, more efforts that you need to put, but they can be very good for that.
They an opportunity based.
Yeah,
but
of course.
To be honest, I remember having many Jupiter transits over the 10th house, because nothing.
Really?
It's like,
you know what? It's very important also to look at the birth status of the planet.
Yeah.
So it depends on what is the position of the planet. And in your case, Jupiter is in conjunction with Saturn.
Yeah.
So that's why things may not happen like usually for Jupiter, you know, with so fast. It's more
actually
slow.
When Jupiter transited my Sun, I started the Astrolada website, and it became success overnight. And I didn't even plan it to be on that day. It just worked out that for the first time in 12 years, I managed to start and make it a success. So it does work, but sometimes I think it's connected to the heliacal risings of the planets.
Yeah.
If a planet for career is not visible in your horoscope, this is something that Marina works for. She does a 10-year horoscope, 10-year predictions when planets connected to your career will be visible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And not only career,
exactly.
about love, about everything. And I remember when Jupiter transited my 10th house, my Mars, which rules my career, the 10th house, was invisible at that period in my life. And it needed 7 more years before it becomes visible. And this is exactly the horoscopes Marina does. And bam, 7 years later, when Mars became visible, 8 years later, Jupiter transited my sun and my career started. And Mars has been visible since. But before that, it was invisible for 15 years or something like that. Or maybe since I was born almost, because I have it by birth invisible. So nothing ever worked out in career. So you have to... tell us a little bit about that, about transit.
Okay, then we can continue the topic about the visible planets. But the transits, in this case, except for Jupiter, I think that it's very important to look at the planet which is related with the type of activity that you're working. Let's say like we are working with astrology, the aspects of Uranus will be very important for us. Or if you are working in the IT sector with internet technologies, modern things, engineering, Uranus is very important for you. And the transits, especially the positive, when we are talking about Uranus, we need mostly the positive aspects. They can bring success to you.
Well, again, I can give you an example. Uranus trine my midheaven, 2010. This is when I started the astrology business. Uranus is currently transiting my sun, which is career, and my Mars, which rules the 10th house. Astrology business boomed 3 times for me. We're doing with the webinars, with it's if, for example, for someone it can ruin their career. Uranus.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you're in the hierarchy structure, it can all of a sudden you can lose your job, so you can have to become a freelancer or something, that you have to work freelancing for someone. But Uranus wants to liberate you anyway. But if you are in plumbing, Pluto comes and you develop a great career. If you're in stock and bonds, Pluto comes and you develop great career. If you, I had a friend who had Pluto transit her Sun and her Venus and her ascendant. They're within the same degree, and she opened a cleaning company which became super successful over 1 year. And she was like very posh person, and she was like, cleaning, but she has like 200 people that work for her now, because Pluto is, the dirt, the cleaning, the detoxing. But if you're trying to start a business which is, say, I don't know, if you want to sell makeup, or if you want to sell and you have a Mars or Uranus transit, it's, unless the makeup is luminescent or something.
It's not the best option probably. But you can find something in the other methods. It's not only about the transits. You can look in the progressions, in the directions. They can also be, if you are talking about makeup, for example, we need to find Venus, positive aspects. Or
even Neptune, it's kind of. Or if it's surgery, Pluto progression or Pluto transit. Or if it's, what about Saturn? What careers does Saturn work? Corporate.
Saturn, it can be building business, creating some things. The people who are working in a hierarchic system, when it can be related with even receiving some kind of managing position. Saturn can give you stability, and Saturn is not, when we started working with you, the transit Saturn was making trine with my with the cusp of my 10th house. So really, it was in conjunction with my Venus, stationary turning direct, in exact conjunction with my Venus, and exact trine with my Moon, Mars, which are on the cusp of MC.
Nice.
10th house. So, and when you start something related with Saturn, it can be more stable and long-lasting. You can also make some kind of conclusions from that to look what planet influences you have at the moment when you have started something. And yeah, if you have a positive aspect from Saturn, you can it can be more long lasting and more stable. So Saturn can
what
also
can
bring,
ruin your career? What can ruin your like?
well, negative aspects of the outer planets. They can definitely bring difficulties. Uranus can do that, especially Uranus, because it's very sudden. You know, it's like an explosion. You don't expect it. Uranus can be Neptune can.
But what if you're in technology, something cutting edge, and Uranus square is your 10th house cusp? Can it just be
Well,
like moving suddenly, the offices are moving, or like all of a sudden you get offered a different job or something? Or
yeah, it doesn't need to be like destroying your career, but you shouldn't try to stop the changes in your life. It's what we discussed in the first part of our interview, that you have to try to be in harmony with the influences of the planets. If Uranus is making aspect with your 10th house, 6th house, the rulers of these houses, you have to make changes in your work. If you are trying to keep everything as it is, then there will be some kind of negative aspect.
if Saturn
For example,
is there, you have to put order. You have to put better structure. You have to restructure something. If it's Neptune,
you have to.
how can you overcome a Neptune hard aspect?
Probably that's the most difficult influence, really, because Neptune, you don't know what to expect, you know, from Neptune. But with Neptune, you shouldn't try to keep everything in order, because Neptune is related with, you know, the house. You have to learn to swim, figuratively. Yeah, trying to keep everything in order, in control, it can be very, very bad. It would be better to try to adapt in some way to the new circumstances. But
and there might be something hidden, because I remember a client who had Neptune square her 10th house cusp. She lost her work and she didn't want to tell to anyone, and she started working in a night bar, and she was hiding from everyone for 1.5 years that she was working in a night bar after losing her corporate position. And I knew another lady that was actually escorting for the 2 years Neptune was squaring her sun or something like that. So again, she had to keep it private, and it's kind of something delusional there.
yeah, Neptune, it's a very difficult planet. But if your work is related with that, if you know what, with Neptune, you need to become more creative, I think, in your work.
Well, I saw, for example, some big stars became like Pattison from the Twilight movies, when the sun, Neptune was squaring his sun, and I think even the midheaven or something, or opposing. This is when he became a star. But Neptune is about cinema and creativity, and so kind of all girls or teenage girls were dreaming and yearning for him. So.
Yeah, for these people, Neptune can have a very positive influence. That's why it's very important what is your activity. And if you don't know that, you can be sure what will be the influence of the aspect. And
what
for
about
people...
Pluto? What when Pluto starts square aspecting your career planets?
Well, Pluto, it can be good for people in the banking area, for people... you know, with all these energetic practices like yoga, Reiki, they're very popular nowadays. All these people can benefit from this. Also, all kind of occult knowledge. For example, also it depends, you know, on the natal chart of the person. I can give you an example with my horoscope. The transit Pluto is now in conjunction with my sun. Actually, it has, yeah, really, but it's passing almost.
Haven't you noticed stalkers and sexual predators around you more? I've seen that when people have Pluto transits, they become super sexually attractive to others for some reason. Even though they might be smart, there is something like everyone finds them magnetic.
You have to ask other people. I can tell you about that. But I can tell, because, you know, we had some kind of question like Pluto making trine with the sun, is it going to destroy my life? And we can't say that it will destroy your life. It can have a really positive effect over your life. And especially for people, let's say with my chart, I have a lot of water in my horoscope. I have 5 planets in water element. My ascendant is in water. And Pluto, it's more material planet, you know, it empowers you. So in my case, it's very positive. It makes you stronger because, you know, water are more soft, more, yeah, you know it. But Pluto, it can empower you, and especially for those people who lack these qualities, it can be very helpful for them. So we shouldn't be afraid.
Even from hard aspects of Pluto, like square or opposition.
It depends also on the birth position of the planet. You have to look how it is, what are the aspects of the planet in the birth horoscope. Let's say with Uranus, I can say that it was much difficult in my case because, you know, recently they were in square. So the transit Uranus made square with my sun. And it was much more difficult. But in my horoscope, Pluto has positive aspects, and Uranus has only difficult aspects, and it rules 8th house. So whenever it makes an aspect, yeah, it can be something really easy and pleasant, you know. But you have to make changes.
Only bad aspects. Like, I don't know, everyone will be dropping dead around you. But it's still empowering. Whenever I've seen people go through, kind of sometimes they encounter death in the family, and things that are intense that make you think about the other side, life after death, about the big questions. They can be really humbling. Pluto kills the ego. One of the first things that Pluto does in Vedic astrology, even actually, people say that they don't accept Pluto, but actually in the ancient books, Pluto was Shiva, the destroyer. And Shiva destroys the ego, so you can build up a healthier, you can peel a few layers of the wrong ego, basically, of something that's separating you from God. And after you peel off those layers of the ego, you become so much more empowered because you have a direct connection to much more pure energy and power, which is much more divine and truthful. So it's kind of, a lot of fears are removed after experiencing Pluto, isn't it?
Yeah. I can say that it's very easy, of course. Whenever we talk about the outer planets, their aspects, their transits are very long lasting. With Pluto, it's about 3 years now. So something that is happening for 3 years, it's a very deep and long process, and it can be really, really easy, but it can have a positive effect for you. I can assure you that, yeah. And the point here is to use it and to try to cooperate with the influence of the planet. You know,
and with Pluto, how do you do that? How do you cooperate with Pluto?
Well, people who have interest in all kinds of occult knowledge, it's easier for them, definitely, because Pluto is related with everything. It includes everything which is invisible, everything spiritual. It's related with Pluto. Even the healing, it's related with Pluto, and this can be very helpful. All kind of, you know, deepening of your knowledge, paying attention
and stuff like that, and psychology work. I had a friend who had Pluto square her sun, opposition to Sun and Venus within 2 years, and she started hearing voices and seeing stuff, and like ghosts around. And she found out also that she had a black magic done on her. And when and this is very common in Eastern Europe. I want to say, people say, oh, this is imagination, but in Eastern Europe, we do those. We have gypsies, and this is very common to do black magic there to someone. And she even found a piece with Arabic words and kind of a piece of her hair or some material and a bone there. The moment they broke it down, all those obsessive, compulsive, overpowering dark thoughts disappeared. But Pluto, in extreme cases, can connect you to the invisible occult things of like that to experience, you know.
I think that the 3 outer planets can do that.
Yeah.
Even Neptune and Uranus, they can also do that.
The different clairvoyancy that they do, different clairvoyant and psychic phenomena.
Yeah.
Wow. Sure. Okay. So, do we have any other question?
Well, we have lots of questions, but about, very interesting. It's related with the heliacal phases, so maybe we can talk about it. Someone has asked, that why someone with Sun conjunction Mars in 10th house isn't successful and is, staying at home, being a mother only. Well, this is a very interesting situation, because if the Sun is in conjunction with Mars, it means that Mars is invisible. And yeah, and that's why while Mars in the prediction part is still invisible, for these women, it might be more difficult for them to become successful, to become, socially active. They might have the inner need, the inner desire to do that, because Mars is in conjunction with the Sun, but it's very difficult to achieve that in the material world, to
Because
manifest.
when a planet is invisible, it does not manifest. It's not easy for it to manifest outwardly. You feel it inside deeply. You feel the competitiveness, the drive, the desire. But until this Mars becomes visible in your life, which can be predicted with the Babylonian cycles, the Sumerian cycles that you have, that you do, of progression, and they use different progressions when Mars becomes visible in your life. This is when you can start like achieving in regards to this 10th house. 10th house is career. And both Mars and the Sun are very active. But until Mars starts becoming visible, and your 10-year heliacal rising, heliacal phases horoscope predicts exactly the periods every for the 10 days, which planet will be visible, so which area of your life can manifest on the material level. You might be dreaming and want to be in love for years, but until your Venus becomes visible, you might be, you might not have it. Or sometimes Venus may not become invisible for years, so you're always in relationships and stuff. So
yes, exactly. So,
but with this position, Sun conjunct Mars in the 10th house, sooner or later, there is the drive. These are the two planets of action and initiative. Sooner or later, you will have that. Before, women used to play out Mars and their Sun through their husband, because these are the male planets. And if a woman, say 100 years ago, had the Sun and Mars in the 10th house, her husband will achieve. He'll be person of authority, big achievements. But nowadays, the woman can manifest it, and especially when you feel the desire inside. While you're at home with the children, your husband will play this role, and your husband will be successful. But then you can take your power and manifest it yourself. And sooner or later, with this position, you are going to manifest. When the Sun, when Mars becomes visible, when, which can be predicted with astrology, you're going to have achievements and drive and run your own business or something. Anyway.
Yeah, the point here is to find which is the most positive period for you, to, again, to be in harmony with the energies, because sometimes you may try and try, but, if it's not the right moment, you're only facing with the wall, and it's very frustrating. And the opposite, you may have some chances that you may miss if you are not active enough, if you are not putting some effort. So with this horoscope, with this report, we can show people which are the more positive periods related with the different areas of their life. For example, when you should be more active in your work, when you should be more passive and, just work on some things, but not show them, not try to materialize them for other people.
More like prepare them behind the scenes and psychologically. Like I was wondering, I was ready to do astrology way before my Mars became visible. I was like, why God is it not happening? I'm doing so many Mars with my career. I'm doing so much and I'm reading so much. But that was the preparation, 7 years of preparation. God said, you have to prepare, and then when Mars becomes visible. Anyway, sorry, I keep repeating.
Yeah. So I think that's the reason why such people may have some difficulties, because the traditional understanding is that Mars and the Sun in 10th house, it's great. It can be great, but at certain point of your life. So you need to wait for that moment.
What if they're in Libra, though? When neither Mars nor the Sun are very strong?
If they're in Libra?
Yeah.
You mean?
Yeah.
Well, it's not that bad, I think, because the most important is that they're on the cusp of 10th house. It's more important than the Sun. Yeah. It will manifest in their life.
Okay.
It can be in a more soft way because you know, Libra is not the typical Aries and Mars energy. It may not be that active, that dynamic, but
You can do it through partnerships, through business partnerships, kind of support from others, but still should manifest. Working with other people. Do we have another question?
Well, we have questions, but let me see.
We have 5 more minutes. It's
yeah,
not
okay, so
exactly.
no, I found one interesting question. Best indications in the chart for finding love. So how can we understand if we are more, you know, we'll be more successful in our love life? First of all, I think that the positive aspect between Venus and Mars is a great indication, because Mars is related with first house, Venus is related with seventh house. If you have a positive connection between these houses, it means that you, your personality, yourself, first house, can easily get in touch, connected with other people and with partners. Yeah.
What about the conjunction?
It's great, I think. It's wonderful. Yeah. Those people, they can, you know, it's very rare for them to be single.
I think that people with trines, conjunction of Mars, sextile, even in the 70s, they're still looking at the girls around and still have kind of, even with the square, they have strong sexual desires, but they might be harder for them to reconcile kind of something, you know.
Yeah, it might be related with some kind of difficulties, you know, more conflict, fights, but you can still get what you want. So it's not that bad to have even a square between these planets. And the other good indication is to have an aspect between the ruler of first house and seventh house in your horoscope.
A good aspect or any aspect.
Yeah, good aspect is better, of course, and conjunction is better.
Yeah.
Let's say if you have Libra ascendant and Mars is on and Aries is on the cusp. No, it's the same like Venus and Mars. Another example.
Say, Virgo ascendant Pisces.
And Pisces. Yeah, it means Mercury and Neptune to be connected. To have a trine, sextile, or conjunction between Mercury and Neptune, or Jupiter, because Jupiter is also second ruler of Pisces. It means that it would be easier for you to find relationships, and you won't be single in your life.
Should we look at those trines and good aspects just by sign, or should we look within the orb?
Well, if it's in an exact orbis, it has a stronger influence, but even
have it in the same element. One's Jupiter.
It's still working, I think.
It still works because it creates harmony there, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it's also great, and you can make the same connection between first and fifth house, because it's the other love house, you know, related with the first stage about flirting, you know, meeting with someone without serious engagements. If you have a positive aspect between the ruler of your ascendant and the ruler of fifth house, it's also the same.
What if it's hard aspect? Because I have scar between first and fifth.
Yeah, well, it can bring some kind of difficulties, but I think that it's better to have a difficult aspect than not having an aspect at all. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So in this case, we can see such situation. Let's say you have a good aspect between the ruler of your first house and fifth house, but you have no connection between first and seventh house. Well, in this case, you may have a lot of affairs, you know, these more free relationships, but it might be difficult for you to have a serious relationship or to get married.
To seal the deal.
So there might be a lot of people who are attracted by you, which they, you know, they like you, but it might be difficult to have a serious relationship in this case.
And I've also noticed when the Lord of the seventh house is well placed, this is important, good for relationship, for their long-term marriage. For example, it's exalted in its own sign. It's not super stressed by negative aspects. It kind of helps with this person have relationships. But what about Jupiter in the seventh house? How have you seen this work?
Well, Jupiter is the planet of abundance. So It's not for sure that it's very good to have it there, because in some cases it may indicate that you have many marriages even.
Yeah.
And to have many marriages, it means that you have to go through a divorce. So yeah, in some cases Jupiter may not be so beneficial. You will still have many relationships. There will be activity in this area for you, but there might be more changes in this
It's
area.
better for you to focus on business relationships and stuff rather than having to. And in Vedic astrology, Jupiter is weak in the 7th house because your sense of joy depends on another. Jupiter has very strong directional strength in Vedic astrology in the 1st house, because then the intuition is yours. The divine wisdom comes to you through your own intuition, and it's kind of the higher mind is within you. While it's in the 7th house, you might have to advise, to seek for advice from others always, and this multiplicity of marriages possibly as well.
Jupiter is our success, so it means that you need a partner to feel successful, which in some cases might be a more difficult position. Like the sun there, also you need to have a partner to find yourself and
find yourself. Well, I've seen very successful. I've seen exalted sun in the 7th house, and the person made a business partnership with their girlfriend, and they became millionaires through that business. And he says, I finally feel strong in who I am through this business that we developed with my partner. And he was even asking, should I get married to her? Things are not going well. And I said, if you separate, you're gonna lose even your business. Your sun is there, it's exalted, don't mean a good thing. And he was really grateful that they didn't separate. Everything was sorted out, and kind of. Anyway, well, I think we've done 1 hour and a half. We can talk more. I'm enjoying it so much. But maybe we should leave people some time to rest and come again in a few weeks to speak.
Of course, yeah.
And please make an announcement about again, I'm going to repeat, Marina is doing a webinar on children and children's psychology and the dynamic of family and karma. And you can understand about your own childhood, about your own children as well, which will be on the 24th of September. Sign up now. And those of you who sign up, we're going to do a free child horoscope for one of you. We're going to draw one person. And those of you who, whoever it is, we're going to give you a free, Marina's going to make that. And you see what a wonderful teacher she is. She explains so well. So join us on the 24th of September for that webinar. And maybe in October, we're going to make a proper webinar for a couple of hours on the aspects, to explain all the aspects, anything you need to know about aspects in astrology the professional way. So thank you so much, Marina. For all the wisdom you give us. I always learn something so interesting from you. Do you have something to add, to tell us?
Well, I want to thank everybody who took part and joined us. Also thank everybody for the questions. There are so many, and we'll try to answer them in some videos or other webinars. So thank you again. And also we appreciate if you send your other questions, because we are going to make more webinars and answer them. So thanks everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marina. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful Thursday, Friday. Well, wonderful end of August. And today is the Mars conjunct, today and yesterday, Mars conjunct Saturn. So keep it cool. It's a bit stressful, the energy. But thank you, everyone. So thank you, Marina. Bye.
Bye.